Mark 7, let's do this. Okay everybody, so we're back here for Mark 7, so you know the drill by now, get a Bible open or get it up on a screen and follow along. So starting at verse 1. The Pharisees and some of the teachers of the law who had come from Jerusalem gathered around Jesus and saw some of his disciples eating food with hands that were defiled, that is, unwashed. The Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they give their hands a ceremonial washing, holding to the tradition of the elders. When they come from the marketplace, they do not eat unless they wash, and they observe many other traditions, such as the washing of cups, pitchers, and kettles. So the Pharisees and teachers of the law asked Jesus, "Why don't your disciples live according to the tradition of the elders, instead of eating their food with defiled hands?" He replied, "Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you hypocrites. As it is written, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules. You have let go of the commands of God and are holding on to human traditions." And he continues, "You have a fine way of setting aside the commands of God in order to observe your own traditions. For Moses said, 'Honor your father and mother,' and anyone who curses their father or mother is to be put to death. But you say that if anyone declares that what might have been used to help their father or mother is korban, that is, devoted to God, then you no longer let them do anything for their father or mother. Thus you nullify the word of God by your tradition that you have handed down, and you do many things like that." Again Jesus called the crowd to him and said, "Listen to me, everyone, and understand this. Nothing outside a person can defile them by going into them. Rather, it is what comes out of a person that defiles them." After he had left the crowd and entered the house, his disciples asked him about this parable. "Are you so dull?" he asked. "Don't you see that nothing that enters a person from the outside can defile them? For it doesn't go into their hearts, but into their stomach, and then out of the body." In saying this, Jesus declared all foods clean. He went on, "What comes out of a person is what defiles them. For it is from within, out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts come: sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. All these evils come from inside and defile the person." Okay, so the first section we've got here in Mark is Jesus is being challenged by the Pharisees. These were the sort of religious leaders, the guys who thought they had it all sorted with God. And this is another example of when they think they've got it sorted. And they're having a go because the disciples have not washed in a certain way, they've not prepared themselves to eat the food as their tradition says they should. And Jesus points out that this is just a man-made tradition. There's nothing here that's about really pleasing God. Yes, wash your hands, clean things. He's not saying that's wrong, but when he's saying that you make it about the washing, about the cleaning of the utensils in your hands in a special way, more than actually just eating the food, you've kind of missed the point. And he goes on to point out that really, actually, it's not about what goes in, but it's about what comes out of us that really matters. Now, I know that doesn't work for every example. He talks about how you can't be defiled by what comes in, but we know there are other examples of things which can come into us, the things we watch, the things we hear, which actually can really affect us badly. But he's talking specifically about the idea of food and that how you eat things, how you take things in this situation. He said that doesn't matter. He says be more concerned about what comes out of your mouth. Be more concerned about the attitudes of your heart, the words you speak, the things you do. He says because that is what defiles your body. And I think that's something we can all appreciate, really, that often we can kind of walk the walk, talk the talk in the right areas, but actually in other places we do things, we say things which actually really don't point towards us as a follower of Jesus, if that's who we are. And we have to be really, really aware of that. So reading our Bible, going to church, great, but if then what comes out of us is the opposite to what you expect from a Christian, then it doesn't actually matter that you've been doing any of the good stuff. Okay, picking it up, verse 24. That Jesus left that place and went to the vicinity of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know it. Yet he could not keep his presence secret. In fact, as soon as she heard about him, a woman whose little daughter was possessed by an impure spirit came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, born in Syrian Phoenicia. She begged Jesus to drive the demon out of her daughter. "First let the children eat all they want," he told her, "for it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." Lord, she replied, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. Then he told her, for such a reply you may go. The demon has left your daughter. She went home and found her child lying on the bed and the demon gone. This is just another great little story of Jesus. He's walking along, he's going to a different area, and it says a woman came to him. She's Greek, she's not Jew, so she's not from the people of God as these Pharisees, as the Jewish people understood. She was what's called in the Bible a Gentile, someone who was Greek. And she says, please come and heal my daughter, come and help my daughter. And Jesus is quite clever because he says to her, well, actually, first we should let the children eat. First we should deal with the Jewish people because they are God's people. And the dogs, i.e. the other people who are waiting around the edges, they have to wait until we're finished. Now it sounds on the surface like he's being really mean, but it's almost like he's just testing her to saying, how much do you want this? Are you willing to fight for this? Do you really want me to heal your daughter? And the woman's reply is beautiful. She says, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. She's saying that I understand that I'm not a Jew, that I'm not the people of God. She says, but like the dogs will wait around for whatever falls from the table, whatever scraps they can get. She says, I will take your scraps because your scraps, Jesus, are enough. And Jesus turned around and says, for such a reply you may go. He's like saying, because you have faith, because you believe in what I can do, even if it's just the smallest amount. He says, go and find your daughter. And really interestingly, verse 28, her first thing she says to him, she says, Lord. And this is one of the first, if not in Mark, the first example of someone referring to Jesus as Lord. And that makes a massive difference because she's not a Jewish person and she's not even a man, which is really important. I know some of you girls may watch thinking, why does that matter? It does not matter. But in that tradition, it really did. The idea of a female being treated equally, and then a Greek being getting it before the Jews, this would be mind-blowing to the readers at the time, reading this and realizing, wow, a woman and a Greek understood who the Messiah was before many Jewish people did. Carrying on, verse 31. Then Jesus left the vicinity of Tyre and went through Sidon, down to the Sea of Galilee and into the region of Decapolis. There some people brought to him a man who was deaf and could hardly talk, and they begged Jesus to place his hands on him. After he took him aside away from the crowd, Jesus put his fingers into the man's ears. Then he spit and touched the man's tongue. He looked up to heaven and with a deep sigh said to him, Ephphatha. Probably said that wrong. Ephphatha. It's a big word beginning with E, which means be opened. At this, the man's ears were opened. His tongue was loosened and he began to speak plainly. Jesus commanded them not to tell anyone. But the more he did so, the more they kept talking about it. People were overwhelmed with amazement. He has done everything well, they said. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. So again, another example at the end of this chapter of Jesus healing. And this time it seems like more effort's gone into it. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but there's more of a description. It's not just Jesus speaking to him this time, not even just Jesus laying a hand on or just having the man touch his clothing, but he spits. It's like he puts his fingers in his ears, and then it's like he spit and touched the man's tongue. Now I presume he spits on his hand, he touched his tongue, but the point is there's real physical contact here. It's almost like Jesus is actually physically touching the parts of the man which need healing. And he speaks as well. So there's that word that I couldn't say, but meaning, which means be open. It's like he commands the healing. And there's this combination of actually physically touching, laying on hands, which is a very biblical way, but you'll often hear people in prayer ministry and prayer times and conferences, they talk about putting a hand on someone. And this is because this example is shown to us throughout the Bible, and this is an example here with Jesus. He puts his hands on where the problem is, and then he speaks to it and he commands it to be healed, to be open, to work. And it does, and it's an amazing miracle, and it's spreading around, and people are really starting to get something amazing about this man, that he even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. So just another example in the chapter of Mark of all the awesome things Jesus is doing. Great, so as usual, chuck in your comments, let me know. I know it seems very quiet for those of you watching, thinking, oh, no one's watching, but I am getting feedback saying people are looking for this. I'm sorry this has come late. It's just trying to sort it out. We've been away a lot of stuff happening. But the fact that people ask for it is a good sign. So yeah, and the next one, Mark 8, we're having some special guests do it. So do keep an eye out for that. Hopefully that will appear quite quickly as well. So we'll try and catch up by doing a few very close together. So yeah, this is Mark 7, Mark 8, special guests doing it, and look out for Mark 9 soon as well. Okay guys, thank you very much. See you soon. Bye.